Hello everyone, and welcome to my results podcast. It's great to be back and great to be sharing some tried, tested, proven ways in which you can grow your business. However, today I would like to tell you a story. Now, before I do, I just want to impress upon you the importance of stories in your business. Being able to tell your story or a story is really important. But I think you're also going to glean quite a bit from the story I've got to tell you. It's a story about a gentleman that I worked with for literally the first 10 years of my working career. I initially got a job when I was 16, as most people do in Sheffield, working for British Steel. But do you know what? I decided that wasn't for me. The thought of being there for the next 40 years was probably quite scary, to be honest. And I had this overwhelming desire to be the world table tennis champion, to be honest. It was never, really possible, but well, you never know, but point being is I never really got anywhere near that. But I did become, one of the best players in England, and I beat a few of the top world players. And the reason I was able to do that was due to many things, a lot of hard work and some talent and a lot of help from a lot of people. But one of those people, without a doubt, and who, without their help and support, I'd have never managed to do that, was Colin Deaton. Now, if you're from the table tennis world, you'll certainly know that name. His wife, Sandra, is actually the chairman of Table Tennis England. And Colin was really all his life a massive, keen table tennis player, coach, advisor, promoter, and so on and so forth. But Colin gave me the opportunity to earn just about enough money to make a living. Never a fortune, but I basically worked for Colin doing table tennis exhibitions around the holiday camps, and we had an amazing time traveling the country literally every week, traveling for probably 10 years, 20 weeks per summer in the closed season for table tennis, doing exhibitions at places like Butlins and Pontins and Warner Holidays and so on and so forth. And we literally travelled about 1,500 to 2,000 miles a week, every single week for 20 weeks. It was sort of like, we used to call it being on tour. And whilst I was never really a singer or in a band or anything like that, I imagine it was pretty much like that. But Colin gave me the opportunity. He also taught me a lot of things. If I just mention some of the things that he taught me, one of the things he always used to say is, you must never miss a trick. Now, Colin didn't really, I don't think, mean trick people. It was more, you must never miss an opportunity. And that is so true today as it was back, when I was 18. In fact, probably even more important today that, if you're in business or if you're in table tennis, you must not miss a trick. Whether that's the trick of improving your serve or becoming better at selling, it doesn't really matter. What Colin was talking about really ultimately was you mustn't miss out on the opportunities that you've got. And that really, was a profound effect on me. The other thing that I think he instilled in me is a belief. As a young man, I wasn't shy, but I certainly wasn't forward. As a table tennis player, I had lots of doubts about myself. And in business, as in table tennis or any sport, it's really important to believe in yourself. And that was really true. I always remember one particular day. We were just about to do a table tennis exhibition at the Pontins holiday camp down in Camber Sands near Hastings. And Colin, about 1 minute before we were due to play, got an emergency phone call down in reception. So he quickly said to me, "Right, Steve, you need to do the microphone." And Alan Cook, who went on to become the English champion, who was with me that day, he said, "You're going to do the playing, Alan. You're going to do the challenges against the members of the audience that we used to do." And I then had probably no more than 30 seconds notice where I had to go out and talk in front of about 5,000 people for about 40 minutes. And I'd never spoken in public before. And you can imagine, I mean, I think I always remember walking out, taking one step after another, thinking, my legs are going to give way any second now. And, I eventually got out there into the middle of this dance floor, 5,000 people waiting for me to speak. And off I went. And I'm sure, looking back on it, it was probably not the best comparing of a sporting occasion that there's ever been. But I did all right. I did well, in fact. In fact, I think I did brilliantly, certainly for a young 18-year-old who was a little bit shy and had never really spoken in public before, to do that in front of 5,000 people. And that thing, it's just, I don't know. It just enabled me to do it. I speak now. I've spoken in front of, several thousand people at conferences and exhibitions, and obviously at networking events and running my training and so on and so forth. Doing videos, which I think I've got something like 450 videos on YouTube alone, and as well as my podcast. And we get about 7,000 views on these podcasts, which is pretty cool. And it just is easy after that. You can imagine, nothing could be more scary than that was. It was like, really in at the deep end. Now, I'm sure Colin didn't plan to do that, but it was because of Colin that it happened to me. That was really important. And another thing that Colin taught me, and that is to love what you do. What he did. He was an absolute avid fan of, we had such a great time, Colin and I, along with all the other people that were part of that, that time. We had an amazing time. It really was a life-changing. It was probably the best time of my life, to be honest. And, it was a... I'll be eternally indebted to him for giving me that opportunity and working with me for all that time. He also used to say, again, this is linked to what I said at the beginning, which is about never missing a trick. He used to say, you've got to be as sharp as can be. You've got to be really, really good at building relationships. And Colin was. It was quite amazing to watch him. He had no qualms about going up to anybody and talking to them. It wouldn't matter if they were, a member of the public on holiday there. Somebody in a garage, as Colin would go in. I always remember on the first day I ever met him, actually, no, that's not true. It was on the first day I ever worked for him. We went into a shop on our way down to Great Yarmouth, and Colin walked into this shop, picked up an apple, bought it, and walked. No, sorry, I've told that wrong. Colin picked up an apple, ate it, and then walked out the shop telling the shopkeeper, "These are not very nice apples, I don't want it." And it was just so funny that he'd done it that way, and he carried on eating it, even though the shopkeeper was like just in shock that he'd done that. But and it sounds a bit weird, that I know, but it was just so funny at the time. But he taught me so many things. Just going back to what I was talking to you about, Colin, in terms of knowing people and building relationships. He was a real master at getting to know people. He was arguably a little bit Marmite. Some people loved him, some people didn't. He certainly was a shrewd businessman, without a doubt, and certainly nobody's fool. That is for sure. But those of us who loved him, remember him well. He passed away a little while ago, and I was very sad. He was definitely, gotten too soon, as Michael Jackson would say. And, but he left a legacy, I think. He definitely did good for table tennis. I've probably been, myself seen by, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, if not maybe 1 million people have watched me play table tennis. And I say that not to impress you, but just to impress how good Colin was, and his company, and Sandra at promoting the game and getting it out there in front of people. For that, as I say, I will be forever in debt. That's it, really. That's all I wanted to say, So, whether you're, starting out in business, you're starting out in table tennis or any other sport, there are a variety of qualities that you need. In summary, the main ones that I think Colin had that made him successful is certainly number one, I think, would be a work ethic. It was his life. His family were his life as well. In fact, they were number one. But he worked for his family, and he loved what he did, and he loved the sport that he played. But he was also, as I say, a very good salesperson. That, if I could sum Colin up in one word, or in one sentence rather, that's what he was. He was a very good salesperson. He was able to sell his sport. He was able to sell himself. He was able to influence people. And he, as I say, left an amazing legacy and impression on the people that he met. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you ever so much for listening. And I look forward to speaking to you again on the next edition of my Results podcast. Thanks very much.